Welcome to FootballGameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our NFL Week 8 preview between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Oakland Raiders. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Steelers.
Le'Veon Bell has looked impressive since entering the lineup, but the biggest impact I believe he can have in this ball game will probably come as a receiver out of the backfield. And speaking of that passing game, the receivers, both Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders, will have to be able to win at the line of scrimmage. The Raiders will definitely try to throw off the timing and try to get the big bend. Defensively, I'll be paying close attention to that defensive line, as this week versus a quarterback in Terrell Pryor, they're going to be counted on more to collapse the pocket, and it wouldn't surprise me to see multiple fronts in order to accomplish that. And that'll just put the guys on the back end in quote-unquote shell mode, trying to keep everything in front of them to eliminate what the Raiders want to do offensively. Now let's move over to the Raiders in this ball game, and getting center Stefan Wisniewski back is huge for this offensive line, especially this week versus Pittsburgh. He's the leader on offense, and he's going to have to be able to communicate effectively the protection across that offensive front. Now defensively, those defensive backs can't get lax in their coverage, and they can't get caught looking in the backfield versus Big Ben. Otherwise, he's going to make them pay. And as far as applying pressure is concerned, it must be relegated to A-gap and B-gap pressure. You don't want to lose contain versus the Steelers' offensive attack.
The Pittsburgh Steelers would want to flush Terrell Pryor out of the pocket to the short side of the field, where that way they can play coverage on the short side, sending pressure from the field side. And I think they could have some success in forcing an incomplete pass or an errant throw, or even getting a sack on Pryor. I'm going to show you how they can get this done. We're going to send the pressure this way, field side, short side. So we want to flush him to the short side of the field where his windows are limited, and we want to take away a lot of his options. So what we're going to do, we're going to drop this backer over the tight end. He's going to drop back in coverage. We're also going to drop the strong side inside backer in coverage as well. So we've got two guys in coverage. And what we're going to do pre-snap, we're showing cover 2, but it's really cover 1 because we're sending the corner. And as the cadence starts to wind down, you're going to see him creep, boom, and he's shooting outside. And what we're going to have as he's creeping this way, we're going to creep the free safety over here, because now he's manned up one-on-one on this wide receiver. And what we're going to have here, contain. The nose tackle is going to push through the center and shoot the strong side A-gap, because we have the loop around from the weak side. Outside linebacker is going to loop and get A-gap weak side pressure. So we have double A-gap pressure, strong side by the nose, weak side linebackers getting the weak side A-gap pressure. We're also sending the weak side inside backer straight down that B-gap. So we're getting pressure here, and we're also playing contain to the near back, which would be this 5 technique. So, and we're going to drift and drop back in the middle. So it's cover 1, manned up one-on-one out there on the corner. You're trying to flush Terrell Pryor out the pocket where he has only 1 or 2 options to get rid of the football, and you want to try to get a sack, you want to try to get an incomplete pass, and if you're lucky, you can get a turnover. So I think that's how the Steelers can not only flush him out the pocket, but create big play opportunities for their defense. I believe this week the Raiders can put Troy Polamalu in the bind, and also the corner to his side in the bind with Terrell Pryor in that offense out of the gun. I'm going to show you how a little misdirection can put these two players in the bind. Now what we're going to do backside is simple. You're just running up, try to run this deep curl route, this comeback route, to try to hopefully pull this free safety here, because all action is coming front side. And what we're going to do, we're going to show run action. So we're faking the draw action here, thus to hold those linebackers, and this running back or fullback is going up and he's running in on and out, trying to pull at least one of those guys this way. And as we're faking here, we're swinging this tailback across the formation. Rarely do you see guys swing the back across the formation. I love when people do that, because again, it gets the person that was designated for the weaker side of the formation either going across, and now you have a mismatch because you probably have someone that's suited to play strong side not able to cover this back. So you're swinging him over. He's going to stop, check for blitz here. He's checking blitz. No blitz come. Boom. And he's actually your third option, and we're going to show you why he's your third option, putting these two guys in the bind. Everything looks like read option, so tight end stalks up as he's going to block this outside backer, works up and runs the out. Mission number 1. Mission number 2, the post. And why this is key, because now this strong safety has to make a decision. This is actually your first read. You want to read deep to short. second read would be here. Now you see where both guys, in my opinion, are in the bind. The cornerback is deciding, do I come out and get on this swing route, because 9 times out of 10 your backer is going to try to attack Terrell Pryor, and 2, do I sit underneath this out route, or do I continue to work with this post? And now the strong safety is running, do I go on this out route, or do I work underneath this post? Confusion. You have 3 on 2. So any choice these two guys make, they're going to be wrong, and it's up to Terrell Pryor to find the right option. So that's how you get 3 on 2, strong side, also putting the strong safety in the bind and putting the cornerback in the bind. And I think if the Raiders can do that this week, they can have a lot of success moving the chains versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The X factor for Pittsburgh will be defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau, the Hall of Famer. We saw what he was able to do last week versus a rookie quarterback in Geno Smith. And Terrell Pryor is essentially a young rookie quarterback, almost like Colin Kaepernick was last year, still getting his feet wet starting in the National Football League. So it'll be interesting to see what he dials up this week versus Terrell Pryor. The X factor for the Raiders will be their running backs. They have to generate yardage on the ground outside of Terrell Pryor. That's going to make life easier for that Raiders offense. So you look at guys like Darren McFadden and also Rashad Jennings having to play a huge role this week versus Pittsburgh. Now here are some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For Pittsburgh, you want to force the Raiders to stay disciplined. Death by 1,000 cuts. You want to go with that quick, short passing game. Force those guys to stay disciplined, and that way you can take those timely shots deep down the field later on. And you also want to go a shell within a shell. Contain defense in the front 7, too deep on the back end. You want to make Pryor work his way down the field, and that way you can essentially get these guys off the field on 3rd down, getting that ball back for Big Ben in that offense. And I would keep those guards on the move, running counters, powers, getting Le'Veon Bell in the hip pocket of David DeCastro in the running game. I think that's how they can have success moving the football versus Oakland. And for the Raiders in this ball game, Terrell Pryor can't press back there in the pocket. He started to press last time around versus Kansas City. This week he can't press if it's not there. Take the cheap 3 or 4 yards or throw the football away. And the wide receivers have to stay busy at the line of scrimmage. You have to get hands on those Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers in order to have success. And R&R is vital this week for the Raiders offense to take flight. That's Marcel Reese and Michael Rivera, the rookie tight end. Get those guys involved in the running game as far as blocking is concerned, and also in the passing game. We know Marcel Reese is one of the more underrated athletes in the game, and I like Michael Rivera's ability to make plays after the catch. So find ways to get those guys involved in that offense. I like the Steelers in this ballgame, and in my opinion, both teams are similar, both offensively and defensively, with the same components. I do believe the Steelers are starting to hit their stride defensively. They're starting to get pressure on the quarterback. They're also starting to create turnovers, so I think they'll go on the road out there in Oakland and knock off the Raiders. And I want to give a huge shout out to Steeler fan forums and Raider fan forums for always showing football game plan support.